It's a cheat code to life when you realize that you can just take the back door and have everything you ever wanted. This is going to be deep spiritual knowledge combined with physical knowledge, combined with reality creation. This video is for you if you want to change your life, maybe even before the end of 2025. I will draw it on the iPad in a few seconds for you to have you realize that maybe right now you're pushing the front door very hard. You're struggling to change reality. You are struggling to have what you want, to get rid of what you don't want. You are pushing very hard, and that's like trying to change the mirror by punching into it. It won't happen. You have to change you. And the back door is you, and let me tell you about it. So, these are the two doors, right? We have the front door with 0% chance of working ever. It's actually closed. You won't be able to use it to change your reality. And then we have the back door with a 100% chance of working every time when you learn how to enter. And this video is you entering that back door, all right? Let's get started. For you to change reality, we have to go over 5 things. We have to talk about who are you really? Not the one sitting watching this movie being very convinced that you are doubtful or struggling or, yeah, you believe very much your own story, but I'm here to tell you that you are not that character, all right? Then, number 2, I'll tell you why life is only always 1 second. That's very important to know. Then I'll tell you about why there is 1,000, maybe 1,000,000 different versions of you. Then I will tell you how to become the author of your own life by picking the version of you that has it all. And then finally, I'll give you some cheat codes for reality. Sounds good? Good. Subscribe to the channel if you're into reality creation. There will be plenty more videos like this, even though this will be, I think, especially good for newcomers here on the channel. So let's start with talking about who are you really, right? This is you. And when you were a baby, you came into existence. You had no labels. You didn't believe yourself to be anything, really. Until people started telling you who you were, right? And one of the first things they gave you was a name. You did not argue. You did not have to accept it. You simply leaned towards it and say, okay, I guess that's true since you are calling me it. And what that points to is that you, the being that was born, was just pure awareness. The awareness inside you that you can actually feel if you just listen to your own mind. You are thoughts appearing, but you're also the awareness behind it. You are aware of a thought appearing. You are, maybe you think you are your problems in external reality, but you are also the awareness behind it. And the thing you always were awareness. And that awareness is an extension of God, or source, or consciousness, or Allah, or the all, whatever you want to call it. But that awareness is what is actually truly you. You're just in this physical body. But you latched on to a name, right? You caught it. That's mine, right? And then your parents, they gave you some thoughts as well that they kept on thinking about, right? And you thought that to be you. And some feelings. Maybe afraid of flying, maybe afraid of spiders, maybe whatever, right? And society did the same thing. And friends did the same thing. Not the TV show, just your friends, maybe also the TV show. And it just kept on being like that, things affecting you. And what you started doing was that your awareness is actually this small little factory right here, right? Right. And you started producing that version of yourself. By including it, consciousness, awareness does not care what you include in it. Right? So if you close your eyes and you imagine a polar bear, you imagine a polar bear. It's not like consciousness says yes or no to it. It's just, okay, let's have a polar bear. So consciousness always gives you what you want. So when you start giving it and say, okay, thoughts, okay, let's move my awareness. Let me be aware of that. Let me be aware of that. Let me be aware of that. And as a baby, when you could not speak yet, you were just always aware. All right. And so your factory, this right here, your awareness, this is the same, right? It started producing a version of you, a version of you, a version of you, just new versions every day based on these labels. And that factory was just always rehearsing what was in you, right? So when Joe Dispenza, this guy who wrote Becoming Supernatural and the placebo effect and more, when he talks about mental rehearsal, this is what he's talking about. That you are actually a rehearsal. You are the scene play that you keep on rehearsing. So everything you believe about yourself it was not originally you. You just rehearsed your way into it by grabbing things with your awareness and internalizing it into your system. And yes, scientists, brain, neurologists, whatever, they would say that you programmed your brain to it. And maybe that's true, but I'm here to say, don't worry about it. All right? Because it can be reprogrammed. And that's very powerful to realize, okay, every story I believe about myself does not have to be true. It's just simply true right now because I've rehearsed it. So by rehearsing a new story, I can actually change myself. Yes, you can. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is you, your awareness. So whoever you are watching this video, start by having the realization, the doubt, the struggle, the bad times, it's not you. You were aware of it. Maybe it felt bad. Maybe it still feels bad. Maybe it feels awesome, but it's not you. All right? You are the one experiencing it. Make sense? Let's go on to number 2. Life is always 1 second. Oh. This is also very important. Because then, you, as your awareness, you were in a frame. But you thought yourself to be in a movie. Because the frame always changed. So you were always in a frame. Right. And your brain somehow convinced you that you have spent time in the past and that you have spent time in the future. But when you think about it, when were you last in the past? Right? Never. When were you the last time in the future? Never. So the future is an anticipated event. The past is an event you think you had. Your awareness kept some of that, internalized it, so started producing a version of you. So that's why you're keeping up the past. If you can remember something from the past, awareness kept it for you. All right? Which is also very liberating because now you know, okay, so if there's a part of your past that you would not like to keep, you have to be mindful that you're keeping it. Right? You're keeping it stuck in this present frame. This right here. And this right here, right? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what that is? Infinity. We can call it the present. We can call it now. But it's the only moment that you will ever have. But it's also the only moment that you will ever need. You've always been here. And you're actually not in a movie, even though it feels like it. You are in a present moment that is a still image that you can change. Right? And this moment is not 1 second. I just wrote it down because what else should I write down, right? But it's just a moment. Let's not put a time on it because that would be a complex situation. So it's something that you experience right now. And based on what you experience right now, you are actually looking for and attracting the next moment in your life. So by feeling a certain way and by knowing yourself to be something in this, you are selecting a movie. So we could say, okay, so there's also a movie up here that requires a slight change in your perception that would create another movie, right? And also down here. So we have this grid, right? But the funny thing about this grid is that you are always in this. So it's like actually a board. It's like some kind of a game where you can take this and go to any field, right? But it's like, is it checkers? Where to go to, let's say, this field, right? Life will give you the experience of going here first, and then here. It does not make this true any less in the present moment. It will be. There's just this experience of changing images, frames, until you arrive at that destination, right? Sometimes you can go there directly in that present moment, but not in physical reality. But you can go there with your mind and realize this frame, it's mine. It's already mine, and I know that I can attract it by what I think I'm going to experience in this frame. We're going to talk about that later in this video about the law of knowing. Maybe you've heard about the secret and law of attraction, made popular a long time ago, right? I think initially not made by Rhonda Bynes. She was actually syndicating stuff from Esther Hicks and a lot of other people and ancient texts, and then she made it popular. Called it the secret, right? But that's the same thing, right? She was actually talking about the same thing, where you start recognizing that something is true, that, okay, I'm a rehearsed being. If I rehearse something new, I'll become something new, and that new will give me something new in reality. And later on in this video, I'll tell you why that is actually the case, that you can have everything you want by changing you. And when we talk about manifestation, that's also very popular these days. Manifestation is manifesting a version of you. Everything you want is waiting for you to become that version that has that thing. You are actually the delay, and physical experience and God or consciousness or Allah, whatever we call it, is helping you, changing you, until you have that experience, right? You are caught in these, we call them identity loops, where you loop certain things that give you certain experiences. And maybe what you want is requiring you to change until you are that person that has it, right? Let's talk about that later. So there is 1,000 you. And that comes right after this. And scientists, they are also catching up to this. They are saying, yeah, but we can only observe 1% of physical matter. When we look into the universe and we try to calculate what it weighs, how many kilograms of reality we can find in terms of atoms, we can only find less than 1%. When we observe an atom, we will recognize that most of what is in there is empty. We don't know why yet. But the ancients always knew that dark matter that scientists are describing, you know what that is? Potential. Which means your pure potential. So when I say there's 1,000 you have simply become this potential, right? You have spent your awareness on rehearsing a version of you and thereby realizing a certain potential, right? But everything actually exists, and scientists are slowly beginning to realize this when they talk about multiverses and the many worlds theory, is that, okay, everything exists all at once. Everything that will happen already have happened. That is the complex situation about time, that it's actually an illusion. We just get to experience it. And everything else exists as potential, something that we can get to. And Joe talks a lot about this, and a lot of these other people, right? Frederick Dodson, Madame Sealand, and even good old Eckhart, right? He talks about that, how to collapse that potential. So how to have something in dark matter, in potential, something that is not here in physical reality. How do we have it, right? And that starts with everything that we have already talked about, with you realizing, okay, my name is also just some potential that was realized. That I'm actually not my name. It's if any more true, it's my parents' name, but not even that, right? They picked a name, but if they had had some other experiences, maybe they would have picked another name. But they just chose a name to collide or collapse that potential. And then I heard some things in my life, and that collapsed more potential for me. But everything else still exists as potential. So if I want to be something great and I'm not, I can actually realize, but it exists. There's 1,000 versions for me. And as I said, scientists are slowly starting to say this as well. Obviously, ancient religious texts, they have talked about this for millennia, right? But now we're slowly catching up as human beings. So we can have this potential. I can actually be whatever I want, right? If I realize first that I'm just awareness and I start putting labels on myself, I will thereby jump timelines, quantum leaping, as some people would say. I will create a new version of me that will have a totally different life experience. And that's wonderful, right? Because, okay, so I can just choose potential and have that potential collapsing by observing it? Yes. That is exactly what also scientists are seeing in the laboratory when they observe particles, right? They had this very famous experiment where it was only showing this, I think it was an electron, when they observed it. And they said, okay, it's in a superposition, it's in many positions all at once. Yes, it actually exists just as potential. And that in that moment where you watch it, it's like, okay, everything is moisture or damp. And when they watch it, it becomes so solidified that it becomes, the pressure is high enough or low enough for it to become water, just in one moment, right? And then they watch another particle and another particle, but realize it is the same. There's no difference between the potential and the solidified realization of that potential. It's just observable to a human being. All right? But it's the same. And you being able to be so many different characters of yourself simply by choosing a new reality, you will then start collapsing that reality as true. And you are still in the same frame right now, but by choosing to observe a different reality, you are collapsing what that frame will be going forward. Okay? So that takes us on to you are the author. And where are we now? 18 minutes. That's fine. So, you're then the author. The only thing you need to have a different reality, which is you are now, right now, trying to take the back door into reality, trying to create it from the inside out. If I only need to observe something continuously to then have it collapse in my reality, to choose a new frame, do I simply just tell that story? Is that really it? Yes, it is. And you are always telling a story, right? And now I will give you a few keys. that I normally only give my clients. What is your story and what do you know? And these two sentences are way more powerful than you realize just by reading them. Because you will realize that your story is observing a specific reality, internalizing it into your factory, your connection with God, the infinite, Allah consciousness, recreating that reality, right? So if you have ever watched Inception or something, you are actually in that, right? The dream in the dream. Everything is being recreated all the time. You're just not realizing it. But just by asking yourself, what is your story? You will notice how keen you are that your story is just your story, and you won't leave it. And that comes back to what I've told you before. Reality, let's say internal, external, there is no such thing. You are one with everything else in the universe. The awareness, the all, is only one thing. But just for this video, let's just imagine there's separation. Because the separation makes it easier for you to work with this somehow. Even though realizing there's no separation makes it way much easier, but that's just for a more advanced video. Because if you realize there's no separation, you are always no different from your external environment. And that's why you wake up in the morning, know exactly who you are, exactly what car you drive, exactly what paycheck you're going to get, exactly what partner you have. You know everything exactly as it is. But this video is telling you it is not as it is. It is as you are, right? And that is such a powerful realization to have. So everything is not as it seems, everything is as you seem. Right, so change you. So we will need to change here. Right? And that will change here. And that means that if your story includes trying something, trying will be what you experience. If your story includes waiting somehow, waiting will what you be experienced. That is your frame. And that frame is setting you up for more waiting. Try fitting in struggling in your story. And realize, okay, struggling is then what manifests. This is what I call the law of knowing. What do you know? And if I had to draw down knowing for you so you can actually use it as a specific exercise right now, I would have you draw a diagram, right? And I would say that you are in the middle. So we can you are this red dot in the middle. Beautiful flower, right? But this is, so what do you know about love? I don't know why that is a W. What do you know about business? And what do you know about health? Or whatever, right? It could also be money. And you will realize that is actually setting me up for success or failure. What do I know? So this question, what do you know, is incredible. Because it will attract everything you want. So if you say, but okay, but I'm right now I'm manifesting money, right? By 369 method and by visualization at night, and so but that's a good starting point. You are doing a wonderful job of helping yourself. That's lovely. But what do you know? Yeah, but I know. So this knowing, you would say, I don't have money. Okay. So that's the frame you're in. You're choosing a frame. I'm not talking about physical reality. Physical reality is that frame, but you're choosing it. So it's coming in from you, right? That is actually quantum jumping. You're just not realizing you're doing it. But the moment you say, and we will talk about that in the next slide, I am rich, That statement in itself does not require anything else right now. You can leave it alone. Just when I told you that you caught on to your name, awareness is aware of you saying to yourself, I'm rich, right now. You don't believe it because you have rehearsed a different version of yourself that is not rich. But you also recognize, but I can rehearse this, and therefore I'll just become it, like I became everything else I am right now. Yes, that's how it goes. So we have the spiritual plane. What do you know to be true? That's the law of knowing. We have the mental plane. What do I rehearse to be true? Will I keep on rehearsing what I know to be true? And then we have the physical plane. And am I acting out what I'm saying to myself that I know to be true? Right? So the mental plane is somehow a collapse of the spiritual plane. If you say the spiritual plane is damp, what is the right word? Maybe it's the right word. I think you get the analogy. And then the mental plane is water, so it's somehow condensing a bit. And then the physical plane is ice, right? You have really collapsed worlds. You have really observed something to be true for long enough for it to solidify. But it's not your exercise that does the trick. It's not your trying that does the trick. It is what you know to be true. And you can jump to that knowing. You can jump to that frame with your knowing. Now that you know that you are on a life journey of experience, continuously changing frames, you can also know, yeah, but I know which frame I'm going to choose in the end. I know what frame I'm going to. And therefore, I can also accept every frame that will show on the way as just irrelevant frames or something to be acceptant of. All right. I've seen this in TV shows and stuff like that where people, they manifest. It's very popular these days, but they have a different knowing than what they manifest. And that really doesn't make any sense. That's when you then you believe in separation. That I'm having an exercise to employ because I'm different from what I want to be, and you're not. You're simply not rehearsed yet. You simply need to play that character just a bit more. So if you want money, you need to have a character, mental plane, stories you tell yourself that you are rich. Right? So and it's very easy to be convinced into another story. But moments, they don't pass. Your story does not stop before your physical life experience stops when you die someday, right? You will have a bill someday in your life, in a frame, and you will think, I can't pay it. But truth of the matter is you will pay it, no matter what you believe. Look back at your life. Did you have a moment that made it up so that you weren't here? No. You always somehow managed to have the next frame and the next frame and the day after the bill should be paid, right? The frame just changes, right? Awareness does not care about that bill. It simply moves through it, solves it somehow. You have always solved everything that you needed to solve to be here today. So what I'm asking you in this knowing chart might be the most simple thing in this video, but also the most expansive thing you can do to your consciousness is saying, what do I know? Let me write just a full page of what do I know about love. And then I will realize, if this is my script, do I accept that script? This is the script of my next frame and my next frame and my next frame. Do I accept it? If not, write a different script. Don't try to go to the front door and fix the movie. That's too late. Fix the script. Fix the thing behind the movie. Right? So fix the identity behind the thought that leads to the emotion, that leads to the action, that leads to the result. We have this chain of commands that starts all the way with you. Right? By you knowing it. So what do I know to be true? What do I know to be true? That is the law of knowing. And then what is your story? And I've seen this many times with examples where people tell me, yeah, but I have been struggling with my business. It has no views on Instagram, or it has no views on YouTube. I say, okay, I am not concerned about your external world because I know it will solve itself, but I am concerned about your story. And your story will change when you change it. So write me a script. And I've asked multiple people to do this with great success. And so they write me a new story. Okay, all my videos are great. They're going viral. And I say, yes, that's your story, and that's your story only. It's not sometimes your story. It's not separate from you. That is your experience. Internalize it. Get to know it. Spend awareness on it. And all times it works. This does not sometimes work. It always works. What do you know to be true? Your story manifests. Your knowing manifests. I'm going all the way to simplicity in this video to really have you realize it's only what you know that manifests. It's only your story that manifests. So when you have awareness of it's not here, realize you can have awareness on everything. You don't have to have awareness only on physical reality. Choose a frame. Tell yourself that you know it's here. Write a story down. Write it down. You don't actually need to write it down. But it's just to have you realize you can tell a story that is not seen in physical reality, because physical reality is what you have been seeing in your mind before it showed. Right? Every invention was once an idea. And your world is also an idea. And start with that idea. What is the idea? The idea is that you're very successful, or very rich, or very loving, or very healthy. And that idea is planting the seed that will grow into what you want in physical reality. Okay? So, cheat codes for reality. 32 minutes. Perfect time to talk about cheat codes. What you all have been waiting for. And before I go into cheat codes for reality, I want to tell you something that just came to my mind right now. There is not a limiting belief, or there's not a belief that is not a limiting belief. Oh my God, my mouth right now. But really, every belief is a limiting belief, except for the belief in God, or consciousness, or Allah. All other beliefs are just a story. Even your dream is a limiting belief. And you can find this easily just by so give me a dream. Okay, I want $1 million. Okay, can you have it tomorrow? You say no. Okay, limiting belief. Can you have it in a week? Okay, limiting belief. Can you have it in a month? Okay, limiting belief. But also your dream of having $1 million. Why isn't it 10? I'm not saying you should go for 10. I'm not saying it's a bad dream. But I'm saying realize that any potential, everything exists. So even if you are very awakened and liberated by the fact that you can create anything, that which you are trying to create is based off of the assumption that maybe that is the only thing you can have. So it's okay to choose from infinity. You can do nothing else but to choose from infinity. But all of these beliefs are still somehow contained within God. So anytime you lack something in reality, you actually lack God, consciousness, awareness, Allah, whatever you call it. But because when you realize what I am telling you in this video, that you can have everything from spending awareness on it, that awareness, God, will give you what you want in life, the experiences that you need to have the frame you're looking for, to give you the emotion that is really behind it all. When you realize, but I'm lacking the confidence in that God can give it to me, that awareness can give it to me. If I think I lack love, I lack God. And when I realize I have God, I know I can have love. So it's always back to that. Right? And that is why you are watching this video, because of maybe some bad experiences in life. And that is mentioned in the Bible, in the Quran, in all ancient texts, that God will give you hardship. But then with hardship comes ease. With hardship, verily comes ease, right? And that should have your heart resting with God, or Allah consciousness. And that's the way around, right? So you have a bad experience that makes you look for some other solution. Now you're here, right? And then you'll find some peace in that, and you'll let your heart rest in the knowing of awareness can give me everything I want. So, and from now on, every time you lack something, you will go to God or awareness, right? The reason why I'm putting so many labels on it is I want to be inclusive to all of you. I will have you realize I'm not talking about religion per se. I'm talking about just infinite intelligence, everything there is. Right? And that you are a part of that. So you can never lack anything. Only lack the belief. You can only have amnesia. Right? That is why I sometimes say here on the channel, you are an extension of God having amnesia. You can only forget that you can actually have everything you want by going to God. That's the only thing you can be lacking truly, is believing in separation. So when you believe in separation, that you don't have it, then you can have lack. But you can really never have it. You can just be fooling yourself and lying to yourself that yes, but I cannot create everything I want with consciousness. Does that make sense? So there's nothing you cannot have. Nothing, 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 nothing. Cheat codes. I just went on a tangent. But I think it was a good tangent, actually. Hopefully you think so too. Cheat codes. Let's talk about cheat codes. First cheat code. Align your planes. Right. I'm not talking about private jets. I'm talking about spiritual plane, mental plane, and physical plane. If you want to be a famous musician, know that you can be it by spending awareness on it. But take care of your mental plane. What story are you telling in your mind? What are you saying? What are you writing? What are you constantly repeating? What are you rehearsing? What factory are you changing into? And that factory will produce the frames that you need to experience to have it. But the action, the final plane, right? We have these three planes. When you realize they are supposed to be one plane, then you become this unified, wonderful being. And then you can have it all. I'm not supposed, I don't know what to write. All, maybe. Right? When we align everything, we can have it all. So when we align, I know it to be true. I'm talking about it like I already have it, and I'm acting like I already have it. I'm in this frame, knowing that the action will come to me in the next frame, and the next frame, and the next frame. So I will have to write songs, but I also know what frame I'm going to. And that is the law of knowing, setting you up for success. The action is born out of awareness. The action is just a physical manifestation of your mental plane. So if you know and you talk like you have it, your actions is inevitable, not random. They are supposed to give you that thing. Right. In that moment. And if you go back to that, there's only one moment you will realize there cannot be no wrong action. Only if I say there's a wrong action. Okay? So what do you include? What do you say in your current frame? Is the right action or the wrong action? But I have another video talking about how you are actually a vessel of consciousness. So that when you try to be a famous musician, if you know that to be true continuously, you'll get songs to your head. And most singer-songwriters, they will know sometimes just ideas happen, right? And then that is actually a result of you becoming that person, spending time with awareness, expanding your consciousness in that direction until you have the actions that will solidify it even more. So it's somehow going from damp to water, and then that water is actually telling you how to become ice, right? When you align your planes, become a unified being, everything is just in the same direction. Then you can have it all in a few weeks, right? You become unstoppable. Okay. So align all planes, one of the cheat codes. Next is collapse it. So if we look at how physicists are looking at it, we need to collapse it, right? So we need to view it in visualization. We need to talk about it. That talk about it is somehow also a solidification. That is actually taking damp into water, right? You are putting it into the physical world with your vibration, right? So you're taking something that is also vibration, meaning in your head, and you are turning it into a physical vibration in the form of noise. So you're putting it into the physical world. We also need to feel it. That's also vibration. And feeling it is going to that end destination in visualization and instill it in your entire body, know it to be true. And when you do this enough, you can find the feeling in minutes. I can close my eyes and I can promise you that I can find feeling of fulfillment in 10 seconds. Right? When you become very good at it, feeling of fulfillment just becomes normal. And it slowly becomes just what you are. Not in all moments, but in a lot of moments. Okay? So view it, talk about it, feel it, collapse it. Cheat code to reality. Spend all your time with what you want instead of what you don't want. And you will realize your entire family, your entire friend circle, they are spending time on what they don't want. Bad politicians, did you see this TV show? What about this guy? What about my boss? What about this? What about the weather? What about... Just talk about what they would not like. Collapsing a reality that just gives them more unsatisfaction. And you are just that lunatic saying, I love rainy weather. I love sitting in traffic. I love, right? You're just filling your void. You are just collapsing dark matter. You're just taking some of that darkness and turning it into light, right? And saying, but I choose my reality every day. I won't choose bad stuff. Why would I choose bad stuff? Because that will just give me more bad stuff, right? I simply don't believe in separation. And because I don't believe in separation, I will not view it as separation. So why would I view something that will give me something I don't want? Makes no sense, right? It's actually quite obvious. And then, final cheat code to life. I have a lot of other videos talking about you specifically through how do you do this? How do you visualize correctly if that's not if that is a thing? But I will have you realize your story. Some people call it a self-concept. What do you know to be true? Your story. That is what manifests. So that is the exercise. You're the key. When you change you, just change what you know to be true in this present moment. Okay, so no, there's no trying. Nope. There's no doing. Nope. It's solved. It's solved. Everything is being taken care of. You will find yourself in a very powerful place. And yeah, just one. Yeah, I'll give you examples just in a few seconds. So final thing. Punch the old story in the face. It feels so real, the old story. The limits holding you back. It feels so. But it's because it has taken power over you. And Neville talks about this. I don't have Neville's book right here. When you find yourself, you feel like a grasshopper, so that the world around you seems like giants, right? You are a grasshopper in the world of giants. And Neville will ask you, but it's perspective. It's because you think you're the grasshopper. And right now you are just this tiny creature, right? Thinking that old you, your story, is somehow dominant over you. And it's not. So I'm asking you with this final cheat code, punch it in the face. And I'm not talking literally. I'm not trying to be violent here, right? But I'm saying, Realize that you are above that. Realize that you're the giant. Realize that old story is the grasshopper. And realize that you can do this. You can do this. And your old story has a plan, right? And it's like that Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Violent quote, but it really also goes for manifestation. That your old story knows exactly what to do to sabotage you until you ruin it, until you say, nope, not today. I'm not choosing it. I'm separate from that old story. So I'm denying it access to all of me. And every time a thought appears, I'm saying, no, not what I choose. All reality is dying. I'm collapsing new stuff. I'm collapsing millionaire me. I'm collapsing love me. I'm collapsing healthy me. I'm slowly starting to feel it. And it will still show, and you will still say no. And it will show more, and you will say no more. Right? Yeah. So, examples. Social media views, if you don't have them, know that you have them. Clients not showing, know that they are showing. Sales going down, know that they are not going down, never going down. Really try to do this. It sounds to the new people that is watching this video, you'll be lying. You will be like, what is this guy saying? Is this guy asking me to be delusional? And I'm saying yes, because it's not delusional. You're collapsing a reality you want to see. So you are a reality controller. One of the few reality controllers there is. We all controlling it, but most people unconsciously. You are choosing to be it consciously. And that might, annoy some people. That you simply say, it's always working out for me. Every day is in my favor, right? Everything is just perfect. And then I will have that reality that matches that story. Always and forever into infinity. And it goes with relationships not working as well. And I've seen this, where the story was just the one thing that was not working. And even when I've spent some time with clients for a while, successful clients making money, and they'll say, I'm doing the exercises, Chris. It's slowly starting to work, right? Slowly starting to work is somewhat what I call escalating language, but not enough. Escalate it even more. Realize that you are now wrapping yourself in a prison. Maybe you are out in the garden, so it's a nice feeling prison. But by saying it's slowly starting to work, you're collapsing a reality of slowly starting to work. Why? Why? Right? It is not slowly starting to work. It's going to the moon. It's working incredibly fast. Right? I have realized I don't even need to do the exercises. I'm just awesome, and everyone just wants to work with me. So that is why I ask my clients, so what's your story right now? What do you know to be true? Yes, there's a practice to how to mentally rehearse, how to visualize, how to affirm, how to start believing new stuff about yourself. Yes, there is a practice to it. But ultimately, it always comes back to the law of knowing. Know something continuously, and your frames, they just fall into place, and then you have it all suddenly one day in physical reality. And you're not surprised because, I knew that. I knew that. So when I sometimes tell you, you should be indifferent to your manifestation, or not you should be, but you will be, because the knowing is going all the way to a mental plane and a physical plane and a spiritual plane that just knows it's just for me. And yes, I've given the example of Kanye West a lot of times where he just knows himself to be the greatest rapper alive until he became that. And you'll ask me for more examples as if you need more examples. Everything is a physical manifestation. Everything you look at is proof of God or awareness. I don't know. I'm not sure why I should give you more examples, because you're the example. Yeah, but I will start doing it once I have more proof. but yeah, that won't help you. There's plenty of not successful people that are watching successful people not getting success. It does not start with proof. It starts with you. It does not start with a simple reference to a famous person doing it, and then you will maybe do it. This is actually not to be taken lightly. It's your life. It's not a Netflix thing that you can enjoy, and you'll enjoy it more if you have more examples to ponder on. No. You will actually, if you want to change your life, start doing this. And once you start doing it, you'll find rest in it. Okay, consciousness will solve every one of my problems. It will give me my desire, no matter how big it is. And that, my friends, that's a good way to end this video. We are at 50 minutes. I love that you are here. Talk soon. But for now, get out of here. Bye.